Welcome to Business Book Daily, where we pull one useful idea from one business book and turn it into something you can actually use. Today's book is Competing on Analytics by Thomas H. Davenport and Jeanne G. Harris. Davenport and Harris are analytics and business strategy experts known for helping leaders use data, technology, and evidence to improve performance. Before we get into the book, today's episode is sponsored by CommissionOnly.com. Want to sell more without adding fixed sales salaries? Many companies hire commission-only reps, experienced sellers who get paid only when they produce. Post your opportunity on CommissionOnly.com and get in front of motivated reps who are already looking for performance-based roles. That's CommissionOnly.com. Now back to competing on analytics. The big idea is simple. Data is not a competitive advantage by itself. The advantage comes when better evidence leads to better decisions, faster than competitors can respond. Many companies collect data. They have dashboards, reports, spreadsheets, charts, metrics, meetings about the charts, follow-up meetings about why the metrics in the charts are not where they should be. But collecting data is not the same as competing on analytics. Davenport and Harris argue that analytics becomes powerful when companies treat it as a core business capability, not just a reporting function. The best analytical competitors use data to improve the work that matters most: pricing, customer service, supply chains, marketing, risk, hiring, operations, and strategy. That matters because better decisions compound. One better pricing decision helps margins. One better hiring decision improves the team. One better customer insight improves retention. One better forecast reduces waste. Now multiply that across thousands of decisions. That is where analytics can become an edge that is hard for competitors to copy. The first lesson is that analytics must support strategy. Data should not sit off to the side as a technical project. It should connect directly to how the company wins. If the strategy is better customer service, analytics should improve customer insight. If the strategy is operational efficiency, analytics should improve forecasting, costs, and process decisions. If the strategy is faster growth, analytics should help the team understand leads, conversion, retention, pricing, and customer behavior. This is where many companies go wrong. They start with the tool instead of the business question. They buy software, build dashboards, and collect more numbers, then hope usefulness appears like a magician in a quarterly planning meeting. But analytics should begin with strategy. What are we trying to improve? Which decisions matter most? What information would help us make those decisions better? The second lesson is that analytical competitors focus on important decisions. The goal is not to measure everything. Measuring everything sounds responsible, but it can turn into a very expensive way to create confusion. Strong companies identify the choices that actually drive performance. Which customers should sales prioritize? Which products should get more inventory? Which prices should change? Which employees are most likely to succeed in a role? Which customers are at risk of leaving? Which operational problems are costing the most money? Analytics works best when it makes those decisions clearer, faster, and more reliable. That is the difference between having data and using data. The third lesson is that talent matters as much as technology. Software alone does not create analytical advantage. A company can buy the best tools in the world and still make poor decisions if nobody knows how to ask the right questions, interpret the results, or explain what the data means. Companies need people who understand both analytics and the business. They need people who can ask useful questions, spot patterns, challenge assumptions, explain insights clearly, and influence decisions. This combination matters because analytics does not live in a spreadsheet. It lives in the judgment people use after they see the spreadsheet. Technical skill and business judgment have to work together. The fourth lesson is that culture must trust evidence. Analytical competitors do not rely only on rank, instinct, tradition, or whoever sounds most confident in the meeting. Leaders still use judgment, of course. Data does not replace leadership, but strong analytical cultures expect important decisions to be supported by facts. That means people are allowed to test ideas. They are allowed to challenge assumptions. They are expected to change course when the evidence changes. This can be uncomfortable. Evidence has a rude little habit of not caring who had the original idea. But that is the point. A data-driven culture helps the organization become less political, less reactive, and less dependent on gut feel alone. The fifth lesson is that analytics becomes powerful when it is embedded in operations. The best analytics does not just produce reports for meetings, it improves daily work, it can guide pricing, recommend offers, spot risks, forecast demand, route resources, prioritize leads, improve hiring, reduce delays, help employees make better choices in the moment. That is when analytics starts to matter. A report that nobody uses is just a very polished museum exhibit. A useful analytical system changes what people do. It helps the sales team follow up with the right leads. It helps operations prepare for demand. It helps customer service identify problems earlier. It helps managers see which actions are driving results. Analytics only creates value when it changes behavior. So how do you apply this? Start by choosing one business area where better decisions would clearly improve results. This could be sales forecasting, customer retention, inventory planning, hiring, pricing, service quality, lead scoring, scheduling, or customer support. Next, define the decision you want to improve. Do not start with, "We need better data." Start with a specific question. We need to know which customers are most likely to leave. We need to know which leads deserve faster follow-up. We need to know which jobs are most likely to run over budget. We need to know which products create the strongest repeat purchases. Then check whether you have the right data, people, and process. Good analytics needs clean information, someone who can interpret it, and a decision maker willing to act on it. Finally, turn the insight into a routine. Build it into weekly meetings, dashboards, workflows, customer reviews, sales priorities, hiring scorecards, or operational checklists. The goal is not to admire the insight. The goal is to use it. Analytics only creates value when it changes what people do next. Here are 3 insights worth sharing. First, data is not a competitive advantage by itself. The advantage comes when better evidence leads to better decisions faster than competitors can respond. Second, the smartest companies do not measure everything. They identify the decisions that matter most and build analytics around improving those choices. Third, analytics fails when it stays in reports. It starts to win when it changes pricing, service, hiring, forecasting, operations, and customer decisions. Competing on analytics is worth reading if you want to understand how companies use data and analytics to create real competitive advantage. It is also useful if you lead a company, team, or function and need a sharper way to connect analytics with business strategy. You might skip it if you want a technical data science manual instead of a management book about analytics strategy. Today's closing sponsor is memoirghostwriting.com. Many of the best business books begin as ideas leaders have been refining for years, frameworks, philosophies, and lessons learned the hard way. Writing the book forces those ideas into clear form, and once they're on the page, they can travel far beyond a single conversation or presentation. At memoirghostwriting.com, we write memoirs and business books for entrepreneurs, founders, executives, and industry experts. We handle the interviews, structure, writing, editing, design, and publishing, so the final product is polished, professional, and built around your voice. If you've ever thought about what a business book could do for your authority, speaking, consulting, lead generation, or legacy, visit memoirghostwriting.com. That's it for today's Business Book Daily. One book, one useful idea, and one smarter way to build.